Things are not looking good in the world of NASCAR. A boycott was conducted by all of the race teams in the Race Team Alliance in a scheduled NASCAR Team Council meeting earlier today. This has added more fuel to the fire of a potential split between NASCAR and the RTA. Welcome back to the episode of Inside the Lines. My name is Jet. Hope y'all having a great day. And if you're a NASCAR fan, it's not a good day based on the news that we're hearing this morning. According to Adam Stern from the Sports Business Journal, a scheduled meeting talking about the initiatives of the sport was held today between NASCAR and the RTA. However, all of the race teams have boycotted the event as a result of the lack of progress that has been made regarding NASCAR's new business model for the new TV package that is scheduled to take place effectively in 2025. The boycott was simply a message of basically, we need to get this done. We need to start moving forward. NASCAR has said the following in a statement as, quote, NASCAR is committed to open and productive dialogue on a regular basis with all industry stakeholders. We remain committed to continuing discussions in the spirit of collaboration and with the shared goal of growing our sport for the benefit of all stakeholders. Man, maybe it was me being naive and not with reality. Maybe I didn't want to believe it when reports first came out a few months ago regarding the growing concerns between NASCAR and the RTA regarding the financial business of the sport. But I mean, man, things aren't looking too good. I mean, there's no other way to say this. We also have to understand something, that the broadcasting rights expire at the end of next year. Usually, the broadcasting or new TV deal is done a year prior. For example, the 2015 to 2024 deal, the deal that we're currently under right now, that was made, I believe, in July of 2013, which was a year and a half before it actually went into effect. I believe the same thing can happen this year, where we could have a deal later this year be done. But this is not good at all for the sport, especially when you consider the fact that this is happening. And then a few months ago, there was a report that says that Race Team Alliance, or the RTA, was looking at potentially holding exhibition races. All of these things are stacking up to, I hate to say this, but maybe a kart IRL split. And again, I think maybe it's just me being naive, because we know that the worst thing that could ever happen to any sport, not just NASCAR, but to any sport, is a split. And I think we're heading down that path. Now, the reason why I wasn't so worried about it at the beginning before this report came out was because if y'all follow Denny Hamlin's Instagram story, I don't have it, so you kind of have to take my word for it, but I did see Denny basically post a story about construction starting on the new 2311 building, which he stated he didn't want to do unless he knew what the future plans were for the business model of the sport. He doesn't want to, throw all of his and MJ's chips into the basket without having a clear idea on what the future business model of the sport will look like. So when he posted that, I was on the assumption that, okay, things are moving forward. But now you have this coming out, and I guess things aren't not looking too good. Another thing that I think we also need to point out, this looks bad for NASCAR, especially right now. Because if you're Fox, NBC, or future potential broadcasters like maybe ESPN, that has been a network that's been floating around as a potential replacement for maybe NBC or to join in NASCAR in some way, shape, or form. If you're looking at this and you see not only the sanctioning body and the Race Team Alliance butting heads at each other, you really think that's going to, give broadcasters a chance? I don't know about y'all, but I don't know. If I want to invest in sport and I see, let's say, the NFL, and I see the NFL and the NFLPA actively going at war with each other, threatening boycotts and things like that, would you really want to invest in that sport, or at least as heavily as you wanted to prior? I think we had a $5.4 or $2.4 billion package. I think we're currently under right now. If you're seeing this, would you want to give still that much money to a sport that you don't even know could be entering a split in a couple years? So this is not a good look on all fronts. If you're NASCAR, if you're the race team, if you're also looking at the future of the sport for potential new broadcasters, want to invest more money, maybe look at even also sponsors. We could even go that route. If you want to invest in sport and you're seeing that race teams aren't happy, they ain't making money, NASCAR, they're butting heads, it's just not a good feeling right now. And there is a lot of growing concern about what the future of the sport could potentially look like. And at this rate, because we're so close now to when we expect to see the broadcasting rights be finalized. Currently, NASCAR is under the broadcasting situation where they're working with Fox and NBC. When Fox and NBC have the rights to NASCAR, because they have the rights to NASCAR, they get first dibs on renegotiating and re-signing for a new deal. So that's the stage that we're currently under right now. Down the line in the summer, or maybe even into the fall, NASCAR would open up to new broadcasters, more than likely ABC and ESPN. So it's still kind of in the early stages, but time's a ticking. 2025 is not that far away. And a deal is usually finalized about a year before. So I don't know. It's worrying as a NASCAR fan to hear these stories come to light. Jenna Fryer posted this on the Associated Press, giving a bit further insight on what is going on between NASCAR and the RTA. From Jenna, it says that the AP learned Wednesday that the team owners do not believe NASCAR has negotiated in good faith and that they have taken a step backward in talks on an improved business model. Moving forward, they want NASCAR chairman Jim France and Executive Vice Chair Lisa France Kennedy at the meetings, the team representatives told the AP. Now, while NASCAR has maintained that the teams own up to 40% of industry-wide revenue, teams have argued that they have become, quote, full-time fundraisers seeking sponsorship to keep their organizations afloat, and the only possible place to make further financial cuts is through layoffs. And that's another thing I want to point out. I don't think I said this in my previous video when I talked about this, but you cannot move forward by cutting back. When you look at businesses, sports organizations, anything in life, you cannot expect to move forward when cutting back. So when I hear things that teams are, when we're cutting back on the single source parts, we went from making your own car to buying car at a shop, spec car. Now we're limiting, having NASCAR made pit guns. We're now trying to do everything to cut costs, cut costs and tires and all this stuff. And that's great and all, but that can't be the only solution. We can't just expect to move forward as an industry when we're just trying to keep cutting costs to make ends meet. That's not how it works, especially from a team's perspective. Again, we mentioned a while back that no one, not even Hendrick Motorsports, are making profit. That's a big time issue. And when you look at the way the economy is nowadays, it is very skeptical. It's a very touchy thing right now. And when NASCAR teams have to basically try to make ends meet to the point where now they're having to lay off people just to be able to make enough money to stay afloat, that is a problem. Teams should not have to invest into something and struggle just to keep the doors open. Doesn't matter if you're a small team like Rick Ware Racing or a big team like Hendrick Motorsports. They have to be able to generate profit. If the teams are happy, if the teams are able to generate profit, that means we will have multiple things. So number one, they don't have to rely so much on sponsorship. They can invest into other extracurricular things, like more than likely at the racetracks, race teams could do, have pop-up shops. They could do things to activate sponsorship, to really get, people coming out to the races, to have more events, more of a party type of like a scenario. So when the teams are happy, it lifts the sport up tremendously. If the teams are mad, the teams are upset, and they can't make money, it's just going to bring the sport down, the longer this goes on. Now, here's where it gets real interesting. A new article from The Athletic, Jeff Gluck from The Athletic, went even more in depth on what was discussed possibly from the meeting or about what the disagreements are with the meeting. According to Jeff Gluck, according to several parties on both sides of the negotiations who spoke to The Athletic, on condition of anonymity, because they were not authorized to speak publicly, teams and NASCAR have disagreed on making the charter system permanent. That's a crucial factor for team owners who have seen the value of charters, essentially franchises that allow them guaranteed spots in the field and money based on their historic performance, skyrocket as new teams attempt to join the Cup Series. But should the charter system disappear, those investments would become worthless, though teams and NASCAR have reached a point of relative satisfaction over a new revenue sharing model that would see owners receive a greater share of revenue. The charter system model remains a sticking point, with NASCAR chairman Jim France said to be, quote, dead set against making it permanent, according to one team executive. So that is a very, very interesting little nugget. I personally have not been a fan of charters. I don't like charters. I don't like the guaranteed spots. I do not like it. I can understand why from a team owner's perspective, they like charters. You want to be able to have that guaranteed money. Kind of like with Chip Ganassi, when he sold his team, he was able to leave with a lot of money, a lot of cash in his pocket. So I can understand why team owners like it, but as a fan, I don't like the charter system. So it's very interesting to hear Jim France being dead set on making it permanent. Doesn't say he's against it, but dead set on not making it permanent. That's a very interesting little nugget for Jim France to say. And it is something that we should really take note of. As I said earlier, the negotiations, or at least the charter system, is expected to expire the same year that the TV rights expire. So it's like you get a 2-in-1 type of contract negotiation type of thing. So it's very interesting. You look at NASCAR's eyes, what they have to deal with in 2 years, the amount of negotiations, the amount of contracts they have to deal with. Very interesting times, but I find that quite alarming. Not alarming, but a pinpoint. A takeaway from this story is that Jim France and the entire main issue is a discussion on whether or not to make the charter system permanent or not, or at the very least is one of the big issues with why negotiations has not improved. So yeah, it's a very tough situation because NASCAR, they're having to deal with this. They have to deal with three things. Not only do they have to deal with the RTA, they also got to deal with the TV rights, and on top of that, deal with maybe a new charter negotiation rules, which is expected to expire next year, the same time the TV rights expire. So NASCAR, they got to balance three things all at once, really. So it's a very murky, twisted situation that we're under right now. And by the looks of it, things are not looking good for the future of NASCAR. I want to remain hopeful because everybody knows the last thing anybody wants to see is a split. NASCAR knows it, the teams know it, the fans know it, everybody knows it. The worst thing you could ever do is go through 1996 all over again and have a NASCAR split. If that happens, that's the end of stock car racing. IndyCar or IndyCar will take over. And in fact, open wheel will be the thing for racing in America. Still, when people think of racing, they still think stock car racing. They still think NASCAR in America. If a NASCAR split happens, you can kiss that goodbye, and open wheel is going to be the new, or I should say the rejuvenated part of racing in America, since open wheel was the thing back then, a while ago, before the split happened. But if a split happens, you can kiss stock car racing being the number one thing in America goodbye, because we know how detrimental a split can be for the sport. So that's why, again, and this is maybe me being naive, me maybe not wanting to accept reality, because I know how bad this could be if it does go down that route. But I mean, things are just not looking too good right now. Hopefully, maybe down the line, they can find a way to come to an agreement. You know, the teams want Jim France and Lisa France Kennedy, the vice chairman and the CEO of NASCAR, there. They want them to be there to really talk to them directly. Completely understand that. But yeah, NASCAR teams holding a boycott is not good.